Greetings. Today we're going to have some fun. One of the most hotly debated topics on the internet for years and years and years, unsurprisingly, is whether the British colonization of South Asia, the Indian subcontinent, which today comprises of India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and also Burma, which was a British colony at the time, whether that was beneficial to those countries, whether it was harmful to those countries, or something in between. And obviously, there's a tremendous amount of bias in this discussion. People from that part of the world, many of them do believe that this was so oppressive to them and all the resources taken out of India by the British is somehow responsible for the continued poverty of India, even to this day in 2021. Whereas a lot of white supremacist types and white nationalist types, they are of a belief that this somehow benefited India and how India was in completely the Stone Age before British colonization came in. And these are very ignorant opinions on both sides, but these are relatively numerous opinions, and you see people arguing them all over the internet, all over the place, across countries, across websites, across mediums, and so forth. And I'm going to reveal my historical assessment of the situation and come out with my opinion of this in as neutral of a way as possible. I was not born in India, I was born in the United States. And I'm not like other Indians in a way, and I'm not a Hindu either. And I will submit a lot of data about my rationale, as well as tie it to other themes on this channel about exponential economic progress and whether it is appropriate to say that some oppression or some resource extraction a long time ago could possibly affect a country's trajectory even to this day, or the situation of where that country is today versus where they might have been. So get ready, get a cup of coffee or tea, come back and sit down, and then we will dive right in. So we start here with the Wikipedia page for the British Raj, and as you can see, it's 1858 to 1947. For the 100 years before that, it was ruled by the East India Company, or company rule in India, from 1757 to 1858. Company rule in India, 1757 to 1858. Therefore, British colonization started in 1757 to a significant degree and went all the way up to 1947, so 190 years. The absolute apex of their power was 1857 through 1947, 90 years. But they weren't the first European colonial power to try and colonize India. The Portuguese arrived all the way back in 1498, Vasco da Gama. And after that, the French, the Dutch, and the Danish also arrived. And the British were the last among all of those to arrive. Of those previous four European powers, most of them only had coastal factories and colonies, and while they tried to make inroads inland, the Indian kingdoms were still too strong, but they did manage to weaken some of the Indian kingdoms, and that led to the British having an easier time of colonization because the other European countries had done some of the hard work beforehand. As we see in a lot of places in the world, the British Empire was the ultimate late mover advantage. They were among the last to North America, and yet managed to take over most of the North American continent. They were also not the first to land in Australia, but the Australian landmass ended up becoming part of the British Empire. The Chinese, the Spanish, and the Dutch all either could have landed or did land in Australia much sooner than the British. So the British Empire was the greatest late mover advantage of all time, and that is equally true in the Indian subcontinent. Now, to illustrate how British colonization progressed, we go to the following video. Now, to give you an idea of the timeline progression in question, British colonization of India went to a level higher than other European colonial powers after 1757. This is a video from Ali Bai that shows the progression of the Indian map historically from the Iron Age to present. So I'm starting here in 1748, as you can see. And a lot of European colonial powers have coastal colonies and factories. This includes the Portuguese, French, Dutch, and Danish in addition to the British. So as I play this video and you see the progression of the years over here at the top, you will see how British colonization from 1757 all the way to 1947 advanced, 190 years. So all the maroon colors are British colonies. Okay, as you get past 1947, that is the independence of India as well as Pakistan from British colonial rule. If you want to see the history in much more detail and going further back in time, I encourage you to watch this video, which is also in the description box below. Ali Bai's channel has a lot of historical animation map videos that are extremely informative. Now, in terms of economic effect of the British colonization of the Indian subcontinent, it is true that they extracted a lot of resources out of India and sent those resources back to either Britain or to Australia, which was being colonized by people from the British Isles at the same time. And in fact, a lot of the resources that made the British settlement of Australia possible were in fact taken from British colonies in India and Malaya, which is present-day Malaysia. And so the beneficiaries of British colonization of India are in fact not so much the British people living in the UK today, but rather the people of British origin living in Australia today. Now, this is not the fault of anyone alive today, so don't get me wrong about that. Nobody owes anything back because of that. But keep in mind what the footprint of the British Empire was and where the resources they were taking out of the Indian subcontinent, as well as out of their other colonies, where those were going. I refer you to this very famous video of an Indian politician, a member of parliament, Shashi Tharoor, who spoke at the Oxford Union in 2015, about the various exploitations of the British Empire in India, and that video went viral. It has 8 million views, and there's so many reaction videos to it that comprise another 10 million plus views of this video. So this video is very famous, and we shall go to certain excerpts of it for some data points about the quantification of resources taken out of India by British colonization.